Hello, everyone, and welcome into Coach Craig's Sports. This is the MLB DFS Core Pick video Core Pick live stream for today. This is May 10th, 6-game main slate today. A little bit smaller day since it's Wednesday. We got some early games. We got some travel days for some of these teams in general as they're moving forward to the next series. But what we'll be doing in this video, going over a recap of yesterday's picks, talking a little bit of weather report for today, going over to FanDuel, talking about my core picks for today, and then last but not least, going over to the bottom half of my cheat sheet over on the YouTube community tab, where I do have my top teams to stack for GPPs for today. The cheat sheet is 100% free. It's up on Twitter. It's up on Facebook. It's up on the YouTube community tab. So definitely be sure to check that out as you're building your lineups today. If you're interested in more general information, pitchers, kind of their history versus the teams they're facing today, hitter versus pitcher matchups, everything else like that, that is up on my Patreon Monday through Friday. Some additional notes there, $5 a month, very small monthly donation, $1.25 per week essentially. So some pretty good information there if you're looking for a little bit more information in general. But without further ado, we'll get started with a recap of yesterday's picks. So at the pitcher position, we paid all the way up to Shohei Ohtani at $11,600. Unfortunately, only got to 37 points. Was not bad by any means, but wasn't the greatest either. So we did give him a push since he was kind of, in play, but wasn't the greatest either at the same time. Not anybody that helped us, not anybody that hurt us. Then at second base, we had Gleyber Torres at $2,800. Got the 31.9 points. He was a hit, and he was the top second baseman on yesterday's slate. So he was a really good play. At third base, we played J.D. Davis at $3,200. Got the 6.5 points. Did end up giving him a push yesterday. Obviously, we were looking for at least double-digit points at him. But, at the same time, not anybody that hurt us, but not anybody that helped us at the same time. He was a guy that had really good history in the past versus Patrick Corbin. So was shooting for that upside. Unfortunately, did not get there yesterday. Then in the outfield, we went with Luis Robert once again, $3,000. Ended up hitting a home run, so he got to 18.7 points, so he was a hit. And then last but not least, Austin Slater at $2,500, kind of our pay down option, got to 6.2 points, so he was a push. Not anybody that really put our lineup over the top, but not anybody that hurt us by any means whatsoever. So a little bit of a hit or miss day there. If you had some other good hitters alongside this core five, you had a reasonably good chance of cashing on yesterday's slate. But without further ado, I'm going to talk a little bit of weather reports for today for the 6-game main slate. Does not look like there's any weather in play, so we're going to kind of skip over that real quick since no weather concerns at this point in time. If anything does change throughout the day, we'll leave it down in the comments. But with that being said, we'll get rid of the recap. We'll bring up FanDuel and talk about the core picks that I do have for today's slate overall. And as we're getting started with this slate, I would say it is a very good slate today to kind of mix and match, especially when it comes to pitchers, some of these hitters and everything else like that. But the hitters and pitchers that I do have for my core today, at pitcher, we're going to go with Jordan Montgomery. He's $9,900. Averaging about 32 fantasy points per game to start this season. Had some really good starts. He's had a couple down starts too as well. It seems like usually it's when I pick him as a core play. Did like him against the Diamondbacks a couple of weeks back where he didn't have the greatest start in the world, but his last three starts, we can see 40, 42, and 34. And his history against the Cubs is pretty good. He's got pretty decent history versus these Cubs hitters. Last year against the Cubs, he had 40 fantasy points, 58 and 46. So 3 starts over 40 at $9,900. If he can repeat that success once again today, definitely looking like a pretty strong play overall. Not the greatest pitching slate as we are kind of talking through it, but a guy that I definitely want a decent amount of exposure to. Like I said, kind of mixing and matching some pitchers just in general today on the 6-game slate. Getting a little bit of exposure to some different guys in general. Then at first base, we're going to go with Andrew Vaughn. He's $3,200. He's averaging almost 11 fantasy points per game on the season. Going against the Kansas City Royals, Brad Keller. Keller was looking a little bit better to start the season. Not a real high-end upside guy in terms of pitching, but 6 for 16 versus Brad Keller in his career. This White Sox team is a team that I do like stacking once again today against this Kansas City Royals team. Then when we look at Andrew Vaughn, only 246 on the season, 4 home runs, but 28 RBIs is a good handful there. Yeah, the 3 most recent games, up over double-digit points in all 3 of them. He's got that 3-game hitting streak gone. So looking like he started to turn it around pretty well at this point in time. Not a bad price tag at $3,200 overall. Then, then we're going to go to Bobby Witt Jr. at shortstop. We're staying in the same game here. He's $3,700. He's been hitting the ball extremely well as of late. 3 for 9 with 2 home runs versus Lanston, the starting pitcher for the Chicago White Sox, in today's game. So some pretty good upside there at that. Did feel that sneeze coming on for a little while there, so I do apologize for that. But like I said, with Bobby Witt, 3 for 9, 2 home runs versus Lance Lynn in his career, so some pretty good upside there. Obviously, he's been hitting the ball pretty well, although you only see the 240 average, 6 home runs and 15 RBIs. But let's see, at this point in time, he has a what's this, like 6, 7 game hitting streak. He's been double digit points almost every single one of those games besides one. So some pretty good upside at that guy that has a decent chance of hitting a home run today in a favorable matchup. So definitely do like going to Bobby Witt Jr. today, just in general. His price tag's a little bit higher than it's been, but still like that upside that he does present. And then the outfield, we're going to go with Luis Robert once again, 3 days in a row, but at this point in time, he's got an 8 game hitting streak. He's 1 for 4 versus Brad Keller. He's up over averaging 11 fantasy points on the game. Hitting in the middle of the lineup for the White Sox team once again, double digit fantasy points. What is it? 6 straight games now, 7 straight games. So a guy that is hitting the ball really well as of right now. So do like going back to him once again. And, it's a decent matchup against Brad Keller. And then last but not least was the core pick that I had the hardest time picking today. Ended up ultimately on Brandon Nimmo. He's $3,200. He's 2 for 3 with 1 home run versus Hunter Green in his career. This is kind of one, if you want to swap it out today, definitely do not blame you whatsoever, especially if we're building some more of these stacks. But on the season, hitting 300, 3 home runs, 14 RBIs. So some decent numbers there. He's been up over 6 fantasy points the last how many games. There is some upside to be had there, but not a guy that hits a lot of home runs. Not the guy that's going to steal a lot of bases, although he's been running a little bit more this season. $3,200, a fair price tag for him, but you're going to look for a multi-hit game. Has the decent history versus Hunter Green, but if you want to swap him out for somebody else, it does make a little bit of sense as well. Obviously, I have a handful of hitters up on the cheat sheet as well, so definitely be sure to reference that as we're moving along. But with that being said, if you go with these 5 players that I do have listed here, you have $12,000 exactly, remaining $3,000 per player. So if you want to pay off for somebody, you have the flexibility to do that. Going to have to pay down for somebody eventually there. Or if you want to take a little bit more balanced approach, that's definitely something that's fine on today's slate overall. But with that being said, going to close out of FanDuel at this point in time. We'll move over to the cheat sheet on the YouTube community tab. And once again, talk about the top GPP teams that I do have to stack for today overall. So in terms of the top GPP teams to stack today, I do like this Royals and White Sox game quite a bit. White Sox have decent history versus Brad Keller. Royals have decent history versus Lance Lynn. Lance Lynn hasn't had the greatest start to the season. Brad Keller, been a little bit hit or miss this season. So when it comes to the White Sox, you're looking at guys like Luis Robert, Andrew Vaughn, Gavin Sheets if he ends up starting again. Tim Anderson's up there as well. So a lot of different options from this team overall for the Royals side. Mainly looking at Bobby Witt Jr. as kind of our main piece there. If you want to go with Nick Pratto, if he ends up starting, he's first base outfield eligible. Been hitting the ball pretty well. Got some decent history against Lance Lynn, 4 for 8, I believe, with 1 home run. You can look at Salvador Perez. You can look at a couple different options from this Royals team overall. And then last but not least, we have the Atlanta Braves going against Brian Bayo of the Boston Red Sox. Definitely like the upside that is there, although these guys don't really have any history versus him in the past. Since he was a rookie last season, hasn't pitched too much in the majors and has not faced the Braves before. So definitely do like the upside of that lineup, especially with some of their guys getting healthy at this point in time. Orlando Arcia came back recently. Michael Harris II came back recently as well. So there's some pretty good upside to be had with that Braves lineup just in general. The only real guy that they're missing from their lineup at this point in time is Travis d'Arnaud. So definitely do like stacking them once again today. If you want to get sneaky with like a Tampa Bay Rays stack, a Baltimore Orioles stack, that is something that could be in play as well. But with that being said, it's pretty much what I do have in terms of the core pick video for today. If you guys do have any remaining questions, feel free to drop them in the live chat if you're listening live at this point in time. Otherwise, if you are watching on replay, leave them down in the comments and I'll get back to you as quickly as possible. With that being said, also feel free to give me a shout out for your favorite player on today's slate, whether it's someone from my core 5 picks, whether it's someone from my cheat sheet, my top stacks, or a completely different player that you guys think I missed. Definitely interested in hearing what you guys have to say. But with that being said, if you're brand new to my channel, checking it out for the very first time, checking this video out, this live stream for the very first time, would appreciate it if you did take the time out of your day to subscribe if you enjoy the content that I am putting out. Helps to build the community that we're trying to build here at Coach Craig Sports, which is one that's truly for you, the viewers, helping you with your DFS. Right now, it is mainly MLB DFS as well as some USFL DFS. I'm trying to get a little bit more into the prize picks for MLB as we get more information on the season. Messing around with that a little bit. If I have some coming up on the day, I usually try to put it out on my Twitter at Coach Craig Sport. But moving forward, probably next week, I'll be doing a little bit more content regarding MLB Price Picks as well. So if that's something you're interested in, definitely be sure to check that out as well. But with that being said, that's really all I have for today's video. Once again, do appreciate everyone taking the time out of their day to tune in, whether you're watching live or on replay. Definitely means a lot to me, and I hope that each and every one of you have a great rest of your day and some pretty good luck in MLB DFS tonight.